Okay, so welcome along to day 3, believe it or not, of Future Skills Week. And my name's Jackie from Employability and Careers. And we're very ably joined this morning by Ellie Francis, the wonderful Ellie Francis, who took us through starting out on LinkedIn yesterday afternoon, and we didn't scare her away. She's back for more this morning, and she's going through Advanced LinkedIn, which is LinkedIn for career development this morning. So Ellie, you are very welcome back today to take us through this session, and we really look forward to hearing more and learning more about how we can maximize our LinkedIn presence to get those opportunities and to get noticed and hopefully get our dream job. I'm in my dream job, so I'm sorted. I'm okay, and I think hopefully you are too, Ellie. So
After hard work for many years, yes, I am too, which
yes,
is good news.
yay, class. So yeah, there's a couple of just wee things, guys, that I just want to bring your attention to. Keep an eye on the chat. I'm going to be sharing, for those who've just joined and missed the Menti poll, I'm going to pop the link in there for you if you would do that. And then also, what was the other thing I was going to say? Yes, if you have any questions throughout the session today, Ellie, what do you want them to do? Put it in the chat or raise their hand or?
Yes, very, very informal, whatever you're most comfortable doing. If you're happy to pop it in the chat, work away, or otherwise raise your hand and we'll come to you. I'm more than happy to keep this as interactive as possible.
Yeah, because I think it was a good mixture yesterday. We had
Hmm.
people actually raising their hand and speaking, which I thought was quite nice for you
Yeah.
as a trainer, and people putting things in the chat. So that's fantastic. Are you happy to for questions to come just as and when, or do you want
Yeah.
to leave them to different sections of the presentation?
No, I think just as and when. Sometimes I think we chat about this, Jack, it might be coming up, in which case I'll let you know. But feel free to ask as we go along because there's nothing worse than forgetting your question and then
I know.
not being able to ask. So no, honestly, keep it informal and happy to answer as we go along.
Perfect. And if you put a question in the chat and we don't come to you right away, it's maybe because Ellie's about to cover it. Okay, so don't feel that we've ignored you or forgotten about you. Okay. Well, look, I'm going to hand over to you now, and looking forward to this session, and we'll get going.
Thank you very much, Jackie, and thank you for that lovely warm welcome. It's great to be back at Ulster University Future Skills Week. As Jackie was saying, I was here last year, which was two really, really good sessions that everyone got a lot from, so that's great. And actually, I did go to Ulster myself, so I went to McGee and I studied law with marketing. Graduated in 2018, which doesn't seem as recent anymore as it once did, but it was. But yeah, look, I had a great time at Ulster, and I think events like this are really, really helpful to you in your career, and it's stuff I wish I'd known whenever I had. Started out actually even before I did my degree. So you're all very, very welcome. As I say, keep it informal. Please feel free to ask questions throughout if you wish. And we will leave some time at the end for questions as well. So just whatever your own preference is. Um, as Jackie said, today we're going to be talking about advanced LinkedIn, which is LinkedIn for career development. Yesterday we very much covered, I know some of you joined the session yesterday, which is great and welcome back. Yesterday, we very much covered, an introduction to LinkedIn, so the benefits of building your profile. We have a couple of key things around the profile in there today, just for those who missed them, things that I think are particularly important. But other than that, today is going to be more around building your personal brand and really carving out yourself as an industry expert as you go through your career and even now as a student, and where to pitch that to be attractive to employers. So Advanced LinkedIn, what I always like to do first and foremost is just to get you all sort of thinking about this and to understand a bit about who's in the room, is I like to ask you, how are you currently using LinkedIn? So pop into the chat sort of what you use LinkedIn for. So I think anything around, do you interact with others on LinkedIn? Do you use it to stay in touch with people from school? Do you use it to follow employers? What are you using LinkedIn for if you are using it? And it's okay to say that you're not using it at the minute as well.
We can share a whiteboard if you want to do it that way, Ellie.
Yep, absolutely. That works for me.
Okay, let's share a whiteboard. Guys, I'm going to just pop your, because everybody see the whiteboard there? Just, they're used to using this in class.
Yeah,
So what,
work away.
so what was the question again?
How are you using LinkedIn? So what are the things that you're currently using LinkedIn for? Okay, so
Okay,
we're having employer connections, webinars, CPD events, prepping for interviews, fantastic. Not using it at the minute, totally fine. Following employers, networking, brilliant. These are all great ways to take advantage of LinkedIn. Really, really good. Nothing, it's totally fine if you're not using it at the minute. So recruitment and networking, brilliant. Following employers, looking at future jobs, these are all of the things that LinkedIn's really, really useful for. Keeping up to date with news about your subject. Yes, absolutely. Following subject matter experts, that's fantastic. And hopefully those of you who aren't actually using it at the minute are getting some good ideas and some inspiration from your peers as well. So that's fantastic. Using it to build skills, brilliant. So much going on there, guys, on LinkedIn, and hopefully you are finding that it is a really, really useful tool for you as well, as you start to embark on the world of work.
right, will we
If
stop sharing now?
Yeah, I
Or
think
you,
I'll,
yeah,
yeah,
okay.
grand. I'll pop the slides back in. Oh, here we go. Apologies, guys. It's been a long time since I've been a frequent user of Collaborate. Um, okay, so, and it was definitely not this high tech whenever I was at uni, I can tell you that much. um, okay, so look, for those of you who are using it, some of those reasons we have here, fantastic. Really, really happy to see that some of you are using it really well already. And for those of you who aren't, as I say, hopefully you've got some ideas. So why use LinkedIn, and how can LinkedIn help your career? Companies use LinkedIn to source talent. So I had said to the guys yesterday, it's something that's quite prevalent in my career. I should have said actually at the beginning that I'm assistant manager within Grant Thornton's People and Change team, and I used to be an independent consultant in this space as well. So I work with employers to help them brand themselves and to help them impress people just like you, so as the brightest and the best want to work for their company. And I have no doubt that the brightest and the best that we have in Belfast are sitting in this room today. And companies are using LinkedIn to source people just like you. They use it, they go on, they search you, they search skills, they search experience, and they use it to find candidates that they want to work for their company and to get a real feel for what those people are about. The second thing is to stand out as a high performer. So you want to stand out as someone in your career who has an idea of where you're going, you're driven, you know what you're about, you know the value you can bring, and the best way possible to communicate that to future employers is using your LinkedIn profile. Um, Yes, so Jane from Blockbox is popping in. So I actually know Jane really well. So yes, that could be fantastic. Um, you can also use LinkedIn then to network with others in your industry, which is fantastic. It's great to network with peers, to network with future clients, to network with people from university, and finally using it to take control of your career and really shape the direction you are going in, because this is becoming so much more possible now. Whenever I started out in professional services, so I was actually about 18 or 19. I did a school leaver program with one of the big four, and actually at the time LinkedIn had just not that it had just come out, but it had just started to become something that people used within their workplace. And I remember our boss making us all set up a profile, and it was all very basic. It didn't have the functionality that it has now. And it was very much everyone's LinkedIn was a carbon copy of each other's. Whereas now, it's much more customized, it's much more driven by you, and it allows you to really, really take control of what you're known for within your industry and take control of your career. So throughout the next hour or so, we are going to be looking at what your LinkedIn goals are, because I think you always need a plan. If you don't know kind of where you're going, it's very, very easy to get lost along the way, I find. And if we can find out what your LinkedIn goals are, that can be really, really helpful. And then we're going to look through 12 ways you can build your personal brand on LinkedIn. So, first and foremost, setting your LinkedIn goals. What are you trying to achieve through using LinkedIn? And this is something that's going to be very, very personal for all of you. And if you want to take a few notes, and by all means, you don't need to share any of this with us in the chat, but just for the purposes of yourself, we will look at setting your LinkedIn goals and make a few notes. And again, just have a wee think about this over the next few days. So, what is your professional goal? And again, this will be different for everyone. This will be something that's very, very personal. You might be looking to get promoted. You might be looking to find your first graduate job. You might be looking to get PhD funding. You might be looking to get clients if you have your own business. What is your professional goal? And start there. Start with what you are trying to achieve, and work back from there. And I do that with everything in life. I look at, right, where am I trying to get to, and how can I work back from there to achieve that. Second, then, is how can you use LinkedIn to help you achieve this goal? So lots and lots of things will contribute to helping you achieve your professional goal. But what we want to think about in the context of LinkedIn is, where does LinkedIn fit into that overall picture? Where does LinkedIn help you with that? And actually, as well, down at the bottom is who can help you. So who might you need to be or want to be connected with to help you achieve this goal? And how we manage connections varies, and there are different tips and tricks you can use to manage your LinkedIn connections, which I'm sure we will cover some of those throughout the session. But if you have an idea of maybe 10 sort of people in your industry who you think can help you achieve your goal, that can be a really, really good place to start, and a good place to see where you can get some support, because none of us can achieve our goals completely on our own. So it's nice to have an idea of who can help you get to where you're going. LinkedIn makes that so much more attainable, just because you have instant access to people all throughout the world. So I'm going to have a quick pause there, guys, just in case there is any questions. There might not be at this point, but I know we have covered a lot around your goals already and a lot around how we're using LinkedIn. So please do feel free, if you have any questions at this point, to pop them in. If not, we'll be moving on next to 12 ways to build your personal brand or to LinkedIn for career development. Just give
Okay.
us a couple of minutes just in case nobody might have any questions.
I always find it interesting when you talk about, thinking about your professional goals and goal setting, and not everybody's really, really good at setting goals. Well, actually, you could be good at setting goals. It's not the setting of the goal, Ellie. Sure, it's not. It's the actual
Mm-hmm.
um, taking action,
Executing. Yeah,
executing your goals. Do you have any tips?
absolutely.
Do you have any tips around, for to help people who are good at setting the goals, but not actually very good at putting them into action? Do you have any tips around how you can keep focused on achieving the goals that you set?
Absolutely. So I am someone who finds focus actually quite a challenge. I'm always going from one thing to the next. I have lots of different spinning plates going on, which is both good. It's a good and a bad thing, and it's something that I do like about my job and about my life in general. But actually, that can make focusing on specific goals quite difficult. What I would say is, rather than setting huge milestones, and it's okay to have huge milestones, but understand what daily goals get you there in the end. So is it that you massively want a job in a specific industry, so you might comment on someone, three people from that industry's post per day or per week? Is it that you want to be known as a thought leader in a specific industry? So do you post an article per month? It's understanding what are the very small bite-sized chunks and measurable things you can do day to day to help you achieve that goal eventually.
I think that's a really good tip. Actually, it's breaking it down. The
Hmm.
way those examples that you've given are actually, you kind of you hear those out loud and you go, oh, yeah, I can do that. And it's the accumulation, isn't it, of those
Yeah,
doing those on a regular basis that will lead you to your stretch goal and get you to where you need to go to.
absolutely. And it's a cliche, but I always say, I people are talented, people are intelligent, people have various things that they're very good at, but it's never those things that get you where you're going. It's consistency and commitment and discipline. What you can achieve if you consistently take small actions is much more than someone who's extremely gifted but doesn't actually do anything to reach their goal. So there's no kind of magic touch or silver bullet. It's more about actually committing to something and working on it daily, I find.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Well,
For
look, we don't
sure.
seem to have any questions,
Hmm.
so maybe just we'll fly on.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on now then to 12 ways to build your brand. And I will pop these up on the screen at the end for you to screenshot and for you to note down. So don't worry too much about taking copious notes. You'll be glad to hear. Probably not often that you hear that on a Blackboard Collaborate call, but we will pop through these and then at the end we'll have some top tips up on the screen for you to screenshot. Um, so first things first, very, very quickly, because I know we did cover this yesterday, and I'm sure you guys know all about your profiles in terms of advanced LinkedIn. But what I would say is make sure you are searchable. So over and above making sure everything's filled in on your profile, that is a given. You also should be making sure that you are searchable. And for those of you who don't use LinkedIn, don't panic if you aren't doing all of these things. Just make it a goal to get there. So what I would say is look at other people in your industry, look at what they're posting on their profiles, and what they are, saying about themselves, what keywords are coming up over and over again. Also have a look at job descriptions. So which skills and which keywords are your dream employers using to describe their ideal person? So if you read a job description, oftentimes you'll read the same sort of 5 to 6 keywords over and over again. It might be tenacious, it might be hardworking, it might be devoted. Depending on the industry, there will be different words that come up time and time again in job descriptions. Um, Please do ensure that you're almost mirroring that and echoing that on your LinkedIn profile. Again, keywords can be sought from people within your industry. Maybe if you know people who got graduate jobs with these companies last year, have a look at the types of things they are saying on LinkedIn, and see if those fit with what you want to present about yourself. And finally, be unique. There are thousands and millions of profiles on LinkedIn. Be you, showcase a little bit. I think we had a question yesterday about is it okay to put personal hobbies onto LinkedIn? Absolutely. If you can relate it back to how those skills make you a good candidate or a good business owner, relate it back, but put your hobbies on there because that's what makes you unique. That's what makes people feel like they can see the human behind the profile photo, which is really all you want from your LinkedIn profile. Which actually brings me on to then the second. So I'm just saying, yes, use the UU alumni tool to find UU grads. Yes, I actually still do that. So that's really, really helpful, that tool. Um, Bringing me on then to the perfect profile photo, and I do have an example, and those of you who were in the session yesterday will have seen this example. But ultimately, with a LinkedIn profile photo, 4 key things. Again, I won't dwell too much on this because I know we had a look at this yesterday, but just for those of you who weren't in the session, this is my absolute key tip for LinkedIn is get a profile photo on there. The amount of employers or just people in general who say, I don't connect with someone if they don't have a profile photo is colossal. And so you don't want to be that person who doesn't have a profile photo. Um, it should look professional, but and you can all take a sigh of relief. It doesn't need to be professionally taken. It can be taken on your iPhone. We have technology that we hold in our hands now that is so capable of achieving all of these things that you don't need to have a professional photographer to take LinkedIn photos for you. It should be head and shoulders, and the reason for this is it's quite tiny on the screen, and that's if you're on a laptop. If you're on your phone, which most people are now, it's even smaller. And so you want the employer to be able to see you. You don't want it to be so close to your face where they can like see up your nose or anything like that. But at the same time, you do want it to be head and shoulders so the person can clearly look you in the eye and see a bit about you in the photo. And ideally, unless it's very appropriate, so I don't repurpose another photo. Now, whenever I say this, it's okay to use, if you get a photo taken for work, it's okay to put that on LinkedIn. If you get a photo shoot done for your workplace website, it's okay to put that on LinkedIn. That's something I've done. But what I'm meaning here is if you're a bridesmaid or a groomsman on a wedding, we don't want photos where you've cut out the rest of the bridal party and you can see shoulders and ears and all sorts in it. We don't want photos with wine glasses, and I'm actually going to show you an example of my own in a second, but we don't want photos that are clearly not for the purpose of LinkedIn. And the reason why that is employers know it takes 2 minutes to take a professional LinkedIn photo. So what does it say about you that you haven't been able to make the time to do that? So to go on to an example and to shame myself a little bit, my old LinkedIn profile photo is on the left. My current one is on the right. Now the one on the left, I have to say, and I was saying to the guys yesterday, I never thought this was that bad. Like I thought this was not a bad LinkedIn photo. I guess I knew it wasn't professional. I knew that it was maybe not like my favorite photo of me, but it was outside, it was in the air, the light was on my face. I felt great about this, to be honest. But I was at a networking event once where the lady who was delivering the session, she had said all this type of stuff, exactly what I've just told you. No ears in photos, don't cut out your wife, don't cut out, don't have a wine glass, don't be at your work party. I was thinking, yeah, like who would do that? Like that's just silly. And then she said, and for goodness sake, don't be the person that has sunglasses on your head. I was like, I had never, and immediately I just knew. I was like, in my LinkedIn photo, I definitely have sunglasses. And I almost felt like she was speaking directly to me. And I felt like the spotlight was on me. I'm sorry if I made anyone feel like that this morning by calling different things out. But from that, I went home and I thought, do I just delete this? Do I just take this straight off and have no profile photo? But actually, luckily, I did have like a website kind of photo session shortly after that. So I was able to get the photo on the right, which is exactly what we want. We want to be wearing professional clothes. We want to be, happy with how we look, light on our faces, and having those kind of head and shoulders in the finder. What I will say is that what you wear or how you present yourself will depend very much on your industry. So don't worry too much about wearing a suit if you are in the creative industries. Make sure that you're very much tailoring this to the industry that you are in. So I wouldn't worry too much about looking exactly like my photo. I'm professional services, so it is quite corporate. But if you are in a different industry, dress how you believe you would want an employer to see you in that industry. So moving forward then from the profile photo, the third thing you can do to really boost your personal brand on LinkedIn is to add a cover photo. So your cover photo to stand out from the crowd. Not everybody adds a cover photo on LinkedIn, and a lot of people just use the LinkedIn, the basic one. But actually, a cover photo is another great way to really showcase who you are on LinkedIn or what's important to you. So I would say you can look at three separate things as someone looking for a cover photo. So first and foremost, if you do already have a grad job or you're on placement, I would say, does your company have a profile photo? So one of the first things I did whenever I joined Grant Thornton was I emailed the marketing team, and they will definitely know and they will be delighted to share with you the cover photo that you can put onto your LinkedIn. So I emailed the marketing team and said, do we have LinkedIn banners, cover photos? You can call them a range of things. And they came back straight away to say, yes, here are 3 options. And that's great because that's something that's been professionally designed by marketing professionals that you can just pop in and that's fine. It's very, very easy. Go ahead, sorry, Jackie.
I have a wee question here. If you don't have like that kind of cover photo banner type thing, is there somewhere where you can download them for free, or, could you create one on Canva, or, if you were feeling particularly creative?
Absolutely. So whenever I had my business, I used Canva for anything graphic design related, and Canva have built-in LinkedIn banner templates. So you can even pre-populate them with something on Canva and just put your personal photo or handles or what have you into it, whatever you want to have on it. So Canva is where I would be saying definitely go to because you can personalize it, which is really, really handy because that helps you stand out.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
So yeah, and that brings me on to include your social handles. So if you have other social media you'd like them to see, and again, this depends on your industry too. So if you're someone who wants to be a photographer or a videographer, I would be including my Instagram handle, TikTok, whatever you think best showcases who you are as a professional. And you can also use it to promote your business. So if you have your own business, put that onto your banner, and that just means that's the first thing people see when they come on to your profile. So add in a cover photo. It's really good real estate that you don't want to waste on your profile. Fourth thing then is make sure that you stay up to date. So I read LinkedIn profiles all the time and I just know that they're not up to date. I just know that the person has, there's people who have currently studying law with marketing, completing in 2018. And like that is just not up to date, obviously, because we're now 4 years beyond that point. And you do find that people haven't updated. You also find people haven't updated during COVID. So we were finding during COVID a lot of people saying that they attended certain meetings or they attended certain events and actually they couldn't possibly have because they had been cancelled for the past 18 months. So things like that, make sure that you're staying up to date. Key things I would be, and it's also a good opportunity to let the world know of your achievements and things that are going well for you. So keep your education up to date. So once you finish your degree, update that. Make sure you can put your degree in progress on LinkedIn anyway, but make sure that you update it. Or if you go to study a master's or a PhD or another degree or another course, put that on there. You can add in your classification if you want, if you're proud of it, and you should be, but it's completely up to yourself. You don't have to, but it's just another option. Keep your experience up to date. And I am that person who is total eager beaver and has the experience change the day I start a new job, and the world knows that I'm in a new job. And I think that's really valuable because that means if someone looks you up on LinkedIn, they can see where you're at and what you're doing. Um, Promotions. So I'm sure you will all be getting lots of promotions over the next number of years within the workplace. Get those onto LinkedIn. This is a really, really good way to show other employers and your own team that you're a high flyer, that you're someone who is achieving lots. And finally, if you are someone who heads to conferences, who takes up speaking opportunities, who has particular achievements that you want to pop onto LinkedIn, stay up to date with those as well, because that can really, really help you just to stand out. And again, it's all about being unique. Number 5 then is to use your description. So you can put a bio on LinkedIn, which is way longer than the bio on Instagram for any of you who are familiar with it. The bio on LinkedIn is really long. You can use it to really showcase who you are. And it is something that whenever an employer clicks in and that they're interested in your profile photo or your headline, or there's a reason why they've clicked in, they will read it. They will go and read your bio, and it's right at the top for any of you who are. That's a great question, Louise. For any of you who are on LinkedIn and know the bio, it's a really, really good place, and it's right at the top of the page. So Louise has asked, would you include temporary promotions or acting up? Absolutely. While you're acting in that role, that's your role. So I would have that on there. I would you can put that it's temporary or acting up. You might not have to. It's something I would just double check with your employer. But actually, I would have that on there at least in the temporary capacity, because you want to show to other employers that you're capable. And another employer's priority isn't, did you have this job full time? It is, are you capable of doing this job? And whether you're temporary, permanent, acting up, have done it for 5 years, you're capable of doing the role. And that's the main thing. So hopefully that answers your question. And what I would say as well in your description is include your contact information. The amount of candidates that I see on LinkedIn, and the only way to contact them is to message them on LinkedIn, which is totally fine. Sometimes employers don't like it. Sometimes employers want to be able to reach out by email, give you a call, see what you're up to. So if you're comfortable and if you want to, I'd be inclined to include some contact information in your description as well. So this is one of my favorites, and this is something I think really sort of separates the sheep from the goats, so to speak, and tells us who is LinkedIn savvy or not. And it's your vanity URL, which some of you are going to know what that means. I didn't whenever it was first introduced to me. Your vanity URL is basically, if you look at the top of your kind of internet browser now in the sort of HTTP search bar, you will have a link, and it's where the kind of link goes whenever someone comes onto your LinkedIn profile. What appears? Yes, so Jackie's just posted hers in. Perfect. I'm glad to see that hers is in tip-top condition, and is perfect. Yes, big thumbs up, Jackie. That's fantastic. But basically, if you look at yours, sometimes if you haven't changed it, you'll have your linkedin.com, your name, and loads of numbers after it. And that's fine. It's not going to break or anything. You're still going to be able to get in and out of your profile. Other people are going to be able to see you and search you, but it looks a lot cleaner. So my LinkedIn vanity URL is on the screen as we speak. And as you can see, and as you'll be able to see from Jackie's as well, it's just our name. So it's just / your name, and there are no numbers, no mess. It's just very clean, very concise. And what I would say is that this is exactly how you can show an employer or clients or anyone who interacts with your LinkedIn profile that you are someone who really is engaged and knows how to use LinkedIn. So you can only do this once every 30 days. So make sure that you're committed to whatever you change your vanity URL to, because it is a unique hyperlink. There can only be one in the world. So as you can see, I have had to put Ellie-Francis because someone had Ellie Francis, which is totally fine. I'm not annoyed about it anymore. But it still looks fine, but you might have to try a few configurations before you're able to have your, and this can be just done in your edit profile section, and it will say vanity URL as the field that you need to edit. But what I would say is claiming your vanity URL is just such a good way to show how engaged you are, and how much you understand how to use LinkedIn.
I was just going to ask you, how do they do that? Because I know that's going
Yes.
to be the next question, and where do they find that?
So you just go into your LinkedIn profile, and it's edit profile, I believe, and then you can do your vanity URL down there. For anyone who is joining our sessions next week, so for anyone who missed this yesterday, we will be having some LinkedIn review sessions next Wednesday afternoon, and this is something that I can show you how to do then. If you do particularly want to join the session, you'll be able to do that. Jackie, you have a link to
I'll be sharing that
join
link
that, don't
later
you?
on.
Perfect,
Yeah,
later on. So keep
perfect.
your
Yeah.
eyes peeled for that. But yes, a big tip I would say, and something that will make you stand out. So number 7 then is write an article. And this is probably going to make some people think, right, that escalated quickly, like I don't know how to write an article. I'm panicking about this. I'm not sure how to do this. But actually, writing an article is much easier than writing assignments for university. So anyone in this room, and I'm going to assume that's everyone, has written an assignment for university. And I mean, I wouldn't want to return to those days. I can tell you, I found it very difficult. I did my CIPD just last year, the year before, so I had a brief re-submersion in art in assignment writing. So I am fresher in doing that. Writing articles is wee buns compared to writing assignments. Generally, it's only a few hundred words and it's on a topic that you like. It's on a topic that you want to talk about. And it's for the purpose of getting a job. It's an opportunity to show off. It's an opportunity to showcase who you are to employers. So what I would recommend is that you have a good title and a photo. So don't post it without a photo or a good sort of title. Titles that do well, and again, this changes from time to time. My marketers in the room will know that this is changeable, but at the minute, what tends to be doing well are number titles. So what I mean by that is 7 ways to, 5 things that you can't forget about XYZ. These types of things do quite well. Um, Keep it to 500 words. So don't go too far above the 500 word mark, just simply because people um, lose their attention span on that and become bored essentially after 500 words. So what you want to have is you want to have 500 words in there, and that is that. And finally, then share it on your socials, get people's eyes onto your LinkedIn, build up the algorithm. And what that means is just people coming into your profile to show LinkedIn that people are really interested in what you have to say. So that's what I would say are top tips around writing an article. A bonus tip is don't put too much pressure on it. Don't panic about it. Just get one out there, get one uploaded, and after you do the first two, they become much easier, and you start to learn from it. So don't panic, but rather don't put yourself under too much pressure. Um, all right. So number 8 then is update your skills. So skills is one of the key things I see employers using to search candidates, because employers are interested in whether or not you can do a job. Oftentimes what they want to know is, do you have a specific coding language? Do you have skills in a specific marketing area? And the way that they do that, and the way that they ascertain this, is to search specific skills. You can have up to 50. I'm not suggesting that you'll have to put 50 skills in there, because what you'll want to do is add various ones as you learn things throughout your university career and your job, your career once you leave university. Um, but you be aware that you do have 50 to play with, so do try to get those in there. And again, job descriptions can be very helpful for this. So what skills are employers asking for in your industry? What do they want? What are they looking for? And then finally, what makes you different? What skills do you have that other people in your industry may not have? So an example of this was, I actually worked with a guy once who was a qualified doctor, like a qualified medical doctor, but was training to be a barrister. And one of his very unique skills in terms of the world of being a barrister was that he was a qualified doctor, because actually this totally set him apart in the world of medical negligence law, which is a very complex way of saying when people sue hospitals for getting it wrong ultimately. So he was really qualified for that because of a skill that technically was irrelevant to his new career, but actually made him stand out from the crowd. So things like that make you different. It could be a language, it could be a particular course that you've been on, it could be something specific you've done in your degree. What makes you different? What makes you stand out? And include that in your 50 skills.
Can
Number
I
9 then. Oh,
can I
sorry, go
just
ahead, Jackie.
no,
Yeah.
it's just I just spotted something when I went on to my profile there now,
hmm
and you were talking about skills. I can see that there's a new thing. Well, it's maybe been there for a wee while. I've noticed it before. On your profile, when you go into it, it says just under your own kind of profile name, there's a banner
hmm
that says take a skill quiz. So I don't know if that does that come up for everybody, or is it only come up for certain people? Because it says candidates who earn a skill badge are 20% more likely to get hired, and you can take a skill quiz.
I think that is being rolled out at the minute, actually, Jackie. So I don't think everyone will have it,
Oh,
but I
sorry,
think some.
I've
No. But I think if you keep, because LinkedIn does this basically, where um they did it with LinkedIn Video, LinkedIn Live. They did it with the little profile videos, where basically they'll roll it out to see how many people use it, and
Ah,
then they basically decide if they're keeping it or not. But definitely check your profile for that,
yeah,
because I think I have it on mine. And wee things like that. If you see wee quirky things like that on LinkedIn, keep checking back, because that's how they seem to roll out new
yeah.
updates.
I noticed it actually comes up. I looked on down, and actually, if you go right down to the skills section,
Hmm.
there's a wee teeny weeny button beside it. Take
Yes.
skill quiz down there. So maybe if, because I actually think I've done that a number of times down in that section. So maybe
Hmm.
because I have done that, it's now given me that big banner at the top. It's maybe
Yes.
that
Yeah.
kind of algorithm, which, as you say, it shows
Absolutely.
if you're doing it more, they put it more prominent on your profile.
Yes, LinkedIn work really hard to personalize to their um to other employee, or to other users. So
Hmm.
yes, if they see you using something, they will make that more prominent for you, because they see that as enhancing your experience.
Yeah, cool.
But no, good spot. Keep checking back, because that is definitely a useful tool as well. Um, Moving on then to keep your profile on public. So you can have a private profile on LinkedIn if you so desire, but actually, if you're using this to get a job, or to get noticed by clients, or to get noticed by industry peers, there's sort of no reason why you would want to have your LinkedIn profile on private. I mean, for me anyway, I mean, there's plenty of things on my Facebook or Instagram that I probably wouldn't want the whole world to see at all times, but with LinkedIn, I would say the best thing to do is just not to post anything that you wouldn't want everyone to see, because it very much is your shop window as a professional. It's something that you want employers to look at. You want people to look in on and see, right, this person's engaged with this industry. So I would say don't keep your profile on private. People need to be able to find you. Allow connection requests from everyone, so you can limit your connection requests so as only like friends of friends, or second, they call it second degree connections, but it's basically people who are connected to people who are connected to you can request you. But actually, I want to know everyone that wants to be connected with me, so I would allow connection requests from everyone. But, and it's a really, really big but, be selective about which ones you accept. So don't accept every connection request that comes into your inbox. Whenever somebody requests to connect with you, have a look at their profile, ask yourself, and this sounds like a terrible question to ask yourself, but I'm just keeping it real. Do I have anything to gain from being connected with this person? Is this someone I want to be connected with? Do I know them? Are they in my industry? Do I think we can benefit each other's network? Do I see how they would benefit from being connected to me? But I would be very, very selective. Now, we were having a bit of a laugh yesterday, because you do have a limit for connections on LinkedIn, which is one reason why you should do this. Now, the limit is 30,000 connections, and I think I have about 3,000, and I do have quite a lot more connections than a number of people, just because of the job I do. But you can have up to 30,000. But what I would say is keep it quite selective, because everyone you're connected with, that is who all can see your content, but also you can see theirs. And you don't want your LinkedIn feed to be blocked up with content that you're not particularly interested in. So what I would say then next is engage with target companies. So get on their radar. You guys should be making a list of employers that you want to get front and center with, employers that you want to be connected with, people who you want to be um, engaged with, people who you think can offer something to you. So you want to follow their company page. That keeps you updated with what they are posting. If they are posting something that you think is relevant to you, then engage with this. Make sure that you're on there and engaging with them. And finally, connect with all of those important contacts. So I would say if you are going for a job interview and you know who's interviewing you, I wouldn't connect with them before the interview, simply because You might make them uncomfortable. They might not want to be connected with you if they're interviewing you. But actually, if there are people within that company, such as a head of department for the department you want to join, and it's outside of that interview sphere, then feel free to connect with them, get on their radar. So as if and when you do apply for a role, they know who you are. That can be really, really helpful. So 11 then, ask for recommendations. And we were talking about this yesterday. These are just like references. So oftentimes now, and this was sort of a thing even whenever I had first started working, employers are reluctant to give a character, what we would call a character reference anymore, which is basically a personal statement sort of about you. Employers are reluctant to do that now because oftentimes they don't want to say anything. If they've nothing bad to say, they kind of don't see the point, and they don't want to say anything bad about you because it might just be a personal issue. It might just be something that has gone wrong on one day. It's very much for employers now, whenever it comes to references, they're happy to say, yes, Ellie worked for us, yes, she worked from us from this date to this date, this was the position she held. Outside of that, they are very much not wanting to give too much by way of references. However, on LinkedIn, you can ask for what LinkedIn call recommendations, but these are exactly like references where they will write a little bit of blurb about what you have done for them. And actually, on my own profile, you would see actually I had asked Jane from Plotbox for a reference, and she had written one for me, which was very, very kind of her. So you just ask people who you work with. So it can be former employers, people. Yes, that's a really good question, Jackie. So how would
Oh, we seem to have lost Ellie. Hopefully she's reconnecting now. So just as Ellie's reconnecting, let's have some ideas from you guys. How would you ask someone to recommend you, to do a recommendation for you in LinkedIn? What would be your opening line, or how would you go about it? And who would you ask? I know it says former employers, clients, peers, but let's have some ideas. And maybe somebody's already asked for a recommendation and has one on their profile. How did you go about that? University tutor, yep, absolutely. Rebecca's had employers and colleagues leave recommendations, fantastic. I think Ellie's still trying to connect here, guys. Rachel, let me see, university tutor lectures who have viewed your skill set. Yes, who have observed your skill set in real life in the classroom. I think that's really important. Rebecca just approached them and asked, okay. And Rebecca, I take it these are people that you worked with directly who saw you and observed you in the workplace or and saw you and knew what you actually do and knew your capabilities and your skills. Explain why you want it so they understand. That's actually excellent, Lauren. That's very, very good point. You're not just going up to somebody and saying, can you give me a recommendation on LinkedIn and leave it vague. If there's a particular, it's going back to what Ellie was saying, hopefully she can join in again. I'll just check my email here. Um, but it's going back to that, the topic that Ellie talked about at the very, very start of the session is, what is your purpose in LinkedIn? What goal are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to, from that recommendation, are you trying to pull out from that person that you have a particular skill set, a particular piece of knowledge? Is there some kind of attribute or characteristic that you have that is exceptional that you want other employers to see? And are these people who are recommending you on LinkedIn, who are they in terms of the importance that they are on LinkedIn and the impact that they have on other employers? And that's another one. So that's another very important point. So if it's somebody who is leaving you a recommendation that is very well respected in a certain industry or is well known on LinkedIn, has a good number of followers, is connected to other employers that you're interested in and they respect them, a word from them or a nod from them to say, do you know what, Rachel or Lauren or Maliki, whoever it is, do you know what, they're really brilliant at this. We had direct experience of managing them. We worked with them directly. They worked on a project for us and they delivered an absolutely amazing service. Those are the sorts of comments and those are the sorts of people that other employers will go, well, do you know what, if Jackie Smith says Rachel is really good at this, I'm taking her word for it. She must be good. Does that make sense, everybody? So it's not just about just getting random people to leave you a recommendation. If those people are not known by other employers or respected by other employers, they're just going to look at it and go, this is somebody's friend, or maybe somebody that worked with them but had no position of authority. It doesn't go down it doesn't have as much strength as somebody who has that management experience. I am trying to see, Pirelli is, I think, for some reason, has been kicked out. So give me a wee second, there's a call coming through. Okay. What I'm going to do is I need to phone Ellie back to see what's happening here. She seems to have an issue getting back on to, yeah, she seems to have an issue getting back onto the thing. Now I can, okay, so I see employee advocacy share. Okay. Um, okay, just give me a wee second I give Ellie a quick ring to see, she must be having problems getting back in again, and I will come back to you in 1 minute. What I would like you to do is I'm going to share a whiteboard with you now because I would like to get your, let me see, just clear this. Okay, and what I would like you to do is maybe just on the whiteboard, could you maybe put down a few ideas of your opening line. If you were to email somebody to ask them to do a recommendation for you, how would you start that email, or how would you start that LinkedIn message to the person? Or even if you were wanting to connect, this is a good one, going back to the connection request. So if you see somebody like, for instance, say Jane from Plotbox is coming on the call shortly, say you wanted to connect with Jane in Plotbox to get noticed and to get a job, instead of just hitting connect and leaving the message blank, how would you introduce yourself in that message to tell her who you are and why you want to connect with her and why you want her to accept your connection request? Okay, so pop a few ideas in there to discuss on the whiteboard, and I will be back to you in 1 minute. Is that okay, everybody? Sorry about this. Okay, hi everybody. That was I was talking to Ellie there. So for some reason at her company, the server has kicked her out of Collaborate, and she's trying to get logged back in on another computer in another room. So she's going to hopefully join us in the next 5 minutes. So we're going to do a couple of wee exercises here while we're waiting on her coming back in. So let's have a wee look and see what we've got here. So we've got dear blah blah blah, I am planning on applying for the placement position of, in order to secure the post, I plan to emphasize my digital skills in the job application. And I take it then the idea of that, whoever wrote that one, is that whoever wrote that one is basically saying, in order, I want to emphasize my digital skills, would you mind, I would love it if you would leave me a recommendation to to emphasize these digital, or to commend me on my digital skills, something like that. So I like that. That's good. Okay, so this one here then is, dear such and such, I would be grateful if you could assist me in my application for the position by providing a short statement about the skills I have which made me a desirable employee. Love it. That is a really good one. So by the way, anybody who's watching this and thinking, do you know what, I really struggle to write stuff down to ask people, if there are things on this screen which you're looking at going, oh, that's brilliant, I could use that. Guys, take a photograph of the screen, use this, use these things. These are fantastic. Okay, so let's have a look at this one. Let me see. There's some things, there's one up here. I can't seem to drag some of these down. Ah, Ellie's back in the room. Yay. Where is she? Where are you, Ellie? Oh, there you are. There we are. Ellie, we were just killing time till you got here. We're just talking about these requests for
Okay, fab, yeah.
recommendations, and this last one here is, dear blah blah blah, hope you're well, I'm in the process of applying to, want to ask if you feel comfortable writing a strong letter of recommendation on my behalf. Okay, so we're talking about, that's good, but we're talking about LinkedIn here, so maybe just saying, ask if you feel comfortable. I don't know that I would say feel comfortable, Ellie. I think I would just say, I want to ask if you would be willing to um, write a recommendation on my LinkedIn profile. Many thanks, or something like
Yeah,
that, and just keep it
I
short
would
and
keep it
sweet. What do you
short.
think?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would keep it short because you're still on social media. So
yeah,
I would say, keep it short, keep it informal. Again, it depends how well you know the person, but people are generally expecting it to be a bit more casual on LinkedIn anyway because it is social media. So I would say, look, I'm in the process. I would of applying for opportunities. If you even want to keep it quite vague, it's up to yourself. Is it possible for you to write me a recommendation?
yeah,
And if it's someone that you would see in person, it's really easy to casually just say, "Look, I'm applying for this. Would you mind writing me a recommendation?" And
yeah.
oftentimes people, you be really nervous about doing it, but oftentimes people are like, "Yes, like
I
what do you
know.
need me to say?" Really, really nice. So I wouldn't be too worried about it.
Yeah. But I do think, and I think these the examples that are on the whiteboard are actually really good, especially the ones, the top two, which is actually honing in on, could you could you write a recommendation on that which highlights the skills I developed in a module? So we're talking about university lecture here, and the same
Hmm.
with the analytical skills, because they know they're wanting to, say they were on a placement
Hmm.
and they're wanting to say, look, could you comment on my analytical skills I developed in
Yeah.
whatever lab it was? And that's really focusing in and honing in. And I was saying, when you were kicked off the call there, I was just saying to the guys that, it's also asking for recommendations. The strongest recommendations are from people who are well respected,
Yeah.
and well known by other employers, so that they
Yes.
will say they've got good clout, and say Jackie Smith says Ellie Francis is amazing at LinkedIn training. Well,
Yes.
we know Jackie wouldn't say that if she wasn't. So do you know
Absolutely.
what? we're going to talk to this girl. We need to talk to
Yes.
this girl because
Yeah.
Jackie says so. Does that make sense?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what it,
Okay.
go ahead, Destiny, had you wanted to ask a question? Or maybe it was an accident.
No, don't know. You can.
That's fine.
Oh, hold on, Destiny. I don't think they can turn their mics on. Maybe
Oh,
did
okay.
did somebody put? No, it's your hand that's up, Ellie.
Oh, sorry, that was me just trying to let you know that I was here.
All right. No, that's okay. Um.
Grand.
Okay, no,
Um,
that's super. And the Korean watch party, somebody says, be mindful the lecturer may not know you and remember to ask so you can meet in person to discuss so you can place. That's actually a really, really good
mhm,
point
mhm.
because as Ellie remembers from being at uni, just because a lecturer teaches you doesn't mean that they know how
Yeah,
good you are.
yeah, and it depends on the size of your class. Like whenever I did law, it was very much like there was only 25 of us, so the lecturers did know us. It was sort of like school. But in my business classes, there were maybe 150, 200 people, and sometimes it just takes for that wee reminder to say, this is me. I answer loads of questions in your class or whatever, and then they're more than happy.
Yeah, no, that's cool. There was something else, sorry, came into my head about recommendations, and do you know what? It'll maybe come back. It is kind of left my head now, and I'll go back to letting you share your screen.
Yep, that's
Thanks,
grand.
Ellie.
I will. How do you write the
Oh, there's
cover letter to a
Destiny.
company where you don't really know who exactly it's being addressed to? So if you have been asked to write a cover letter, they will know if they haven't told you who to address it to. So what I would say is hi team. I wouldn't say anything too um aggressive. I wouldn't say like to whom it may concern or anything like that. You want to come across as quite
Would you
friendly,
say
quite
would you say dear hiring manager or dear
yeah, exactly.
yeah, something like that
Dear
there?
hiring manager, to the HR team, whoever, if you can do a bit of digging and find out, is if it's an email address that's going to HR at, you can say hi HR team. If it's an email, it's going to if you can pinpoint even the department or the team, you can just say hi team or dear hiring manager. Again, industries, different industries will do different things, so you will know your own industry, but what I would say is just address it to almost the wider organization. But again, if you've been asked for a cover letter, they will know that they haven't told you who to address it to, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Okay, so moving on then to our final tip of the day, which is more for whenever you actually join your employer, and that's employee advocacy, which can be used to raise your profile, talk about your experience and refer your peers. So employee advocacy, for those in the room who don't know, is basically like when you are a customer of somewhere. So we'll talk about TripAdvisor as an example. You go on TripAdvisor, this place is great, I love it, I had a great experience, really, really impressed. That is you being a customer advocate. That is you advocating for a particular business. Employee advocacy is where you advocate for your employer. So share your open roles, talk about your experiences, refer your peers. All of these things all come under employee advocacy, and it gets you noticed within your employer. So one of the biggest priorities of employers at the moment is to hire good talent, to get access to people who they know are good, people who they have good recommendations for. And if you are happy to do that and comfortable to do that with your peers, it'll never be easier than it is now. When you're surrounded by university peers for the next few years, you'll be in very high touch contact with them, and employee advocacy can really, really help you to get noticed in your career. So I'm going to pop up on the screen now, as I promised, the overall slide of 12 ways to build your brand. Give you a couple of moments to screenshot that, and we'll do a bit of a summary as well. So optimize your profile. So make sure that you're searchable. Make sure that you have a professional profile photo, but don't panic if it's not professionally taken. Make sure that you have a cover photo. Keep everything up to date so it looks like you're engaged often. um, stay sorry put Make sure you use your description. We talk about social media real estate, so make sure you're using all of the real estate that is afforded to you and all of the space that you have to talk about how great of a candidate you are. Claim your vanity URL, and again, the quicker you do this, the less chance there is of someone else stealing yours. Um, Post articles. It's not as hard as it looks. Input your skills to make sure that employers can search you. Keep it public. There's nothing you should have nothing on LinkedIn that you're worried about having in the public domain anyway. Target specific companies to make sure you have a list and you know who you want to be in contact with. Um, Ask for recommendations, and I know Jackie did a really valuable session with you, so you're very, very lucky. And that is something that will make it much quicker whenever you go to ask for your recommendations. And number 12 then is engage with employee advocacy. Um, so hopefully that has been valuable. Hopefully that's been a really good starter for you in terms of pulling together your LinkedIn profile and optimizing it. As I say, we will be back next week with review sessions where we can make it a little bit more personalized and specific to your profile, which will be hopefully very valuable to you guys. But for now, I am more than happy to take any questions that you might have. I've left some time at the end for that. And please do let me know if there's anything else that you want to ask me.
I'm just
Thanks, Evie.
popping.
Thanks.
I'm just popping in the. Oh, thanks, Evie. I'm popping in the form here. So, if you'd like to book in for a 30-minute profile review session with Ellie next Wednesday afternoon, that's the 6th, and it's between 1 and 5, just click on the forms link there that I've put in and put in your details. And the way that that's going to work is that Ellie will run little 30-minute, 25-minute probably sessions. So just join in, click on the link that we send you, and if there's a session already in progress, you'll just sit in the virtual waiting room until the next session starts, and then Ellie will pull in whoever happens to be in the waiting room. So it might be just one person, it might be 2 or 3 of you. But look, the idea is that you're all getting your profiles reviewed and shared together. There's nothing confidential about it because you're going to be putting your profile out in the public forum on LinkedIn. So,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a good, I think this is a good time, for people to also learn from each other as well, Ellie,
Mm-hmm.
in those sessions. So,
Absolutely. You guys are going to have ideas that I haven't even thought of. You guys are going to be from specific industries that are different to mine. And so it is just a really, really great way to have a bit of peer-to-peer learning as well.
um, Kira, you asked about the university logo as your background. Um, the answer to that would be no. You can't. You couldn't use that as your background. As far as I know, um, you would need to check with the marketing team in Ulster. But I think that the university logo on those public social media platforms are only for use for actual university departments, as far as I know. Okay, so um, unless are you a student, Kira, or are you staff, or because I know there's quite a mixture of people on the call today. So, but if you're wanting to know about your student on placement, okay, no, no, you couldn't use the Ulster University logo as a banner or a backdrop. But look, why don't you think, yes, a laboratory? Yeah, if that's, what do you think, Ellie? I think that's you, but it would
Yeah,
need to be it would need to be not subject to copyright though.
Yeah, it needs to be not subject to copyright, but also it needs to be the right size and the right sort of dimensions. I'd be inclined to make one just on Canva because it's really, really quick, or ask your employer who you're on placement with.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea. Is that okay?
Canva,
Canva. I'll
I'll
pop
pop it into the
the
chat. Are you
I'll
going to
pop
put
the
it
link.
in?
Yeah. Do
Perfect.
you want to answer? Was it Destiny? Did she ask a
Yes.
question there?
So how do you react to rejection letters? What I would say there is, um, I wouldn't react to rejection letters to an extent. I would ask for feedback depending on the stage in the process. So if you've applied and just got a straight out rejection letter, the chances are the employer won't give you feedback simply because they might have such volume of applicants that they might not have capacity to give feedback to everyone. But if you've been for an interview, you've met with them face to face or on Zoom or Teams or what have you, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to say, look, to be honest, I thought that had gone quite well. Could I get some feedback? Because that can be really, really helpful for you going forward. So I would say two things. Depends at which stage in the process you get rejected. But if it is somewhere late on in the process, you think the feedback would be do you think the feedback will be beneficial? Feel free to ask them for it. So I'm seeing you've replied to say discussing other roles. So do you mean to ask them if they have any other roles available? If that's what you mean, you can do that, but what you don't want to do is make them feel like you just want any job, because they'll be much less likely to give you, if you've applied for something specific and you're sort of like, right, well, are there any roles available? That can almost make them feel like, right, this person just wants a job rather than that you've specifically chosen them or sought them out.
Yeah, it makes it sound a wee bit desperate in a way too, and that you're not
Yeah.
focused in on a specific career.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it would be different if it was like if you were looking for a marketing role and you applied for a certain marketing role and you didn't get it. It would be different if you maybe Ellie said, "Do you have any? Would you have any other marketing
Marketing
roles
roles.
coming
Yeah.
up? Or
Mhm.
junior marketing roles where you could start maybe lower and work your way up." I think that's
Mhm.
different because that's a wee bit more,
Absolutely.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, a bit more focused. I'm
yeah.
seeing Louise has asked, what is the etiquette around messages from recruiters who get basic details wrong, like your employer or your job? What I would say about that is that's not acceptable. I mean, that is an absolute bugbear of mine that recruiters would reach out to get, and
Hmm.
get details wrong that are plain and simple on LinkedIn. You're right, you don't want to alienate them, but actually it can be a good idea to just reply and go, oh, thanks for your message. Just an update. My role is actually whatever your role is, because that can sometimes put them on the back foot a bit, and then they want to impress you and show you that they're not a total idiot. And work with you. So I would reply, I would say, look, thank you for your message. I am actually looking for roles in this space, but just to correct a couple of details, so that it doesn't come up later in the process. Often they'll come back and say, I'm so sorry, I'm so embarrassed, let's have a call. So I would definitely get back to them, but I would be careful about, I wouldn't go back and say, right, this is not acceptable, because you don't want to make them feel like their back's up against a wall, but at the same time you do want to show them that you've noticed that they haven't necessarily got your details correct. And
Good.
Destiny has asked, how do recruiters feel when you directly message them on LinkedIn? Yeah, it's completely fine to message recruiters. They want to hear from as many candidates as possible, and it's often a good place to get your first source of feedback.
That's fantastic. Benton has said the profile picture part got me. The way to project yourself really matters. Yeah,
Yes,
definitely, Benton.
and it follows you around.
It does, and it's funny. I've seen some weird, and wonderful LinkedIn profile pictures, as I'm sure you have, Ellie,
Mhm.
and some of our students, and I've actually seen a guy standing in his suit, for a wedding or something, but he's doing this whole pose with his jacket where he's
Yeah.
kind of pulling his jacket up over his face like this, and it's like, but what's the point of putting a photograph of yourself where you
Yeah.
can't, where you're hiding your face on LinkedIn? It
Mhm.
doesn't make sense. So yeah.
Very strange.
Um, can I ask a question, please? Now, this is one that
Absolutely.
I get asked by a lot of students, is when they're looking for jobs, and I love the job finder, by the way, on LinkedIn. I
Mhm.
think it's fantastic. It does take you a
Mhm.
wee bit of time getting used to the filters and stuff, but
Yeah.
you see the LinkedIn Easy Apply button.
Yeah.
Why, um, how is that different from just sending through your CV? And is it better, or can it be problematic?
It depends on the employer's policy. So sometimes employers just won't accept a CV because they have to have a standardized process of how they take applications. So sometimes
Okay.
they'll come back to you and say, thanks for your CV. Smaller employers generally will take a CV. But if you apply to a bigger company and you send through your CV, it might get lost, but also they might come back to you and say, thanks for your interest. Here's a link through how to apply. So in that case, it's a lot easier to apply through LinkedIn Easy Apply. It can save a lot of time, but it just depends if you're happy enough with your LinkedIn profile that that's what's going to an employer.
That's what I was about to ask you
You
was,
know,
you need to, the way when you send a CV in, you can tailor it to the company you're
yes,
applying
yes,
to,
exactly.
whereas your LinkedIn profile is actually a wee bit more generic.
General, of course,
So, it's like that. If you're clicking on LinkedIn Easy Apply to a particular job, I guess
it's
you've
very
got to
general.
make sure you've got your
Absolutely.
right skills that you talked about today. Um, and that it's that whole thing that I do with the students in job mapping, where you take a
Yeah.
job spec and you look at the top skills that are listed, and then you make sure that you've mapped that across to your LinkedIn
Mhm.
profile where you've got exactly those top skills at the top of your
Mhm.
profile.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Couldn't agree more. So yeah, I would be inclined then to Google the role and seek out the employer.
Cool. Okay.
All right.
Yes. Guys, unless there's any more questions, Ellie, you have a meeting at 11, I know, so you're probably needing to head off. I would just want to say a huge thank you to Ellie for taking us through this session today. I know I've learnt a few things and been reminded of a few things, and I think I need to go and update my LinkedIn profile, Ellie, now. Um, Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Remember that
guys.
um, Ellie is giving her time next Wednesday afternoon. I've put the form link in there. I'm going to put it in again just so that it's handy for you. Please do, if you want to have your profile reviewed, do click on
Join
that
us.
link and join us next Wednesday afternoon. Um, do connect with us on LinkedIn, and also, guys, I'm just going to share with you the link to our student and graduate talent page. That's a brand new page that myself and a colleague have set up for sorry, hold on a second, copy link, for employers and recruitment and so on. So do follow us on that. And Rachel, thank you, has mentioned that there's loads more things happening Future Skills Week. So the next session we have is Damien Donnelly on social media, the law and good sense. Ellie, will that be a
Fantastic,
good one?
fantastic. That would be a good
Um,
one.
and the next one after that is content marketing, how to build your content on social
Fab.
media. So that's very, very appropriate and links in well with what you've just done. And then finally this afternoon, I'm hosting 2 sessions on advanced Excel tips and tricks.
Brilliant. I might
And
join in.
yeah, it's Patricia Hines, Patricia from
Oh, fab.
Train It, she's brilliant. And then we've got Office 365 tips and tricks. Then finally, leaving us this afternoon. And tomorrow's all about leadership and resilience
Brilliant.
and stuff like that. So look, guys, thank you for joining. We hope you've enjoyed our session. If you want to watch this again, you can catch it on our YouTube channel, Careers at Ulster. And yeah, look forward to
Thanks,
seeing you
guys.
at more sessions. Thanks, Ellie.
Thanks.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.